So the first thing we're going to talk about is nonviolent communication. Feedback using the nonviolent communication model breaks down into 4 key areas. One is observations, second is feelings, the third is the needs, and the fourth is requests. And there's also 2 sides to nonviolent communication, like any conversation we have. So there's the giving of communication or feedback in this instance, but there's also the receipt of that feedback and that information as well. So if we're to look at this step by step, we would say, let's look at the giving and let's look at the receiving for each one of those 4 areas. So the first thing we'll focus on is looking at the observation piece of nonviolent communication. And we'll look at it from 2 different aspects. As I said, we'll look at it from the giving side, but also the receiving side. So on the giving side of this feedback, what you might say is that in this situation, I observed that you did this, and that didn't contribute to my well-being in that situation, or it did contribute to my well-being in that situation. Now, on the receiving side of that observation, the person might say, oh, I understand that you observed this, and I understand that that didn't contribute or did contribute to your well-being or some aspect of you in that situation. So again, you're talking about a very clean and clear situation, the actual events that happened that were observed, and whether they contributed or didn't contribute to this person in that situation. And that in essence is the giving and receiving side of feedback in the nonviolent communication space. Now, as we move past the observation phase, we move into the feelings phase. And here, if we look at both the giving and receiving, what we'll actually see is from a giving perspective, we would go on from the observation and say, and I felt. And then you would describe the feelings that arose for you in that situation. On a receiving side, you would just accept and confirm in as empathetical way as possible that you understand that those feelings arose. So I understand that you felt, and just really focus on listening and understanding what's coming from that perspective of the person giving feedback. So as we move past feelings, we then go into the next phase of this nonviolent communication model. And in this phase, we're talking about the needs. And on the giving side of expressing those needs, you're expressing what you really need to happen in that situation, what you value the most, what's most important to you. On the receiving side, you're there to take on that perspective. You're there to sit and to listen and to understand what that looks like and what this person needs who sits across from you. So now as we move into the final piece of the nonviolent communication model for feedback, we move into a space where we're really looking at making those final requests for change moving forward. On the giving side of this, you're really making that request as cleanly and as openly as possible by saying things like, would you be willing to do this in the future? Again, it's important to remember this is a request. So you can't force someone to do it, but you're making that request in order to strengthen that relationship, to improve that situation, or to move forward and grow from this point. On the receiving side, again, someone doesn't have to say, yes, I would be willing to do this, but they may come back with some sort of counter proposal. They may come back and say, would it be helpful if I did this? Or would you like it if I did this moving forward? But again, the important piece here is you're having a conversation of how you're going to evolve and how you're going to grow your interconnection and your relationship and this part of yourselves moving forward. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run through a real example of what nonviolent communication feedback would look like. I'm going to use an example I've seen many times over the years, and that's where a leader or a manager has been put in the responsibility of looking after the personal growth of people around them. And in this scenario, where that isn't taking enough attention or just isn't happening. So the first piece of this feedback would be something along the lines of, whenever we have a session and whenever we schedule time in order to talk about my development and my personal growth, I've noticed that you don't turn up or you reschedule those sessions. Now, if we pause there, that first piece is very much in the observational piece. It is not evaluating the reasons why that's happened. It's just clearly and cleanly stating what you've observed to be true. Now, as we move past that and we move into the feeling stage, some stuff that might come up is, and when this happens, I feel really demotivated. I feel worthless. I feel like you don't care about my growth. And again, that's sharing the feelings that are coming up for you in this situation. It's what's happening for you inside. And as we move past the feelings piece and we move on to the needs piece, the needs piece would look something like, and I really need your dedication, I really need your focus, and I really just need your time in order to support me in this aspect. And again, that's really, in this piece, is really expressing what you need to happen in this situation in order for it to move forward. The final piece of this feedback phase would be then to discuss the specific request, that thing that is actionable that we can do moving forward. And here you might say something like, and I would like it if moving forward, we could protect some time we have together. We could agree on what the best time possible is for us to spend and make sure we turn up for that time. And again, that's a request. At that point, maybe it's a conversation you negotiate the fact that it needs to be over a longer period. Maybe it needs to be on a different day. Or at that point, you're really in that conversation to define that actionable thing you can do moving forward in order to improve this situation. And that, in essence, is one example of what end-to-end nonviolent communication looks like and how you can use this moving forward in order to have those real productive conversations where you're talking at a much deeper level and you're sharing those feelings that are coming up for you, your real needs of what you want to get out of this situation, and then you're forming actions as a relationship or a partnership in this.
So finally, let's take a quick look back at what we've explored in this video. So we've gone through the NVC model of feedback. We've looked at how it moves from observations, those facts without judgment, through to the feelings, how we felt in those situations, moving into the needs of what we really want out of those specific situations, and our requests for change moving forward. If I also look at one powerful place where you could use this model moving forward, if you're there to support teams or individuals, the one that really resonates with me that I've used in the past is conflict resolution. This is a really great model for keeping things clean when you're talking about conflict resolution and you're helping people sort through some sort of conflict and challenge that they've got.
So, finish off, hope you've enjoyed this video and there'll be more topics like this in the future. Thanks.